Welcome to the AI for Career Success video overview by Curt Robbins. We're experts at AI coaching and helping professionals like you and your employees upskill in AI. Today, we're conducting a structural analysis of a major paradigm shift in the artificial intelligence sector, specifically looking at Anthropic's unreleased model, Mythos. The implications of this model stretch far beyond standard software updates. It's fundamentally altering the calculus for IT professionals, enterprise security teams, and global financial markets.
Our agenda today covers four key areas: the capabilities of Mythos, the containment strategy, the recent White House pushback, and finally, the trillion-dollar valuation.
Let's start with Section 1, the capabilities of Mythos and how it's serving as the catalyst for industry disruption.
To understand this disruption, we have to look at a rather sobering reality. In a recent AdvisorStream article titled, "AI is Finding Bugs That Hackers Can Exploit," Katie Chai puts it bluntly. She writes, "AI is finding bugs that hackers can exploit. Get ready for Bug-mageddon." Chai points out that the model's formidable speed at finding zero-day vulnerabilities has actually triggered emergency meetings across governments and the banking sector. The sheer autonomy of this system presents a fundamentally new variable in enterprise cybersecurity.
And to really grasp the scale of that variable, consider this. Priyank Srivastava detailed a striking example in his LinkedIn post, the 27-year bug, Mythos in action. The model autonomously found a high-severity bug that had sat entirely undetected in production software for 27 years. Just think about that for a moment. 27 years. This isn't merely an incremental improvement in coding assistance, it's a profound escalation in the ability to identify critical infrastructure flaws that human engineering teams have missed for decades.
Consequently, Silicon Valley's reaction to this capability is deeply fractured. Jacob Leslie observed this in his LinkedIn publication, The Mythos Divide: Structural Risk versus Corporate Theater. He notes that the industry has essentially split into two distinct camps. On one side, you have professionals sounding the alarm over genuine structural risks to our global digital infrastructure. On the other side, skeptics are calling this whole containment approach a piece of sophisticated corporate theater. But it's worth noting that both camps acknowledge the disruption itself is highly irregular.
Moving on to Section 2, the containment strategy, and Anthropic's unprecedented shift away from industry norms. The mechanics of this strategy are organized under what's known as Project Glasswing. As Priyank Srivastava outlines, rather than doing a standard public release, Anthropic formed a highly restricted coalition of roughly 40 vetted partners. We're talking about technology leaders like Apple and Google alongside major financial institutions. The explicit goal here is to dedicate resources to scanning and patching critical infrastructure long before the model's capabilities become common knowledge. It strictly prioritizes containment to prevent what some experts fear could be a potential collapse of foundational internet security protocols.
Now for Section 3, White House pushback, covering the geopolitical friction and federal oversight this has triggered.
As you might expect, a strategy like this invites scrutiny. Robert McMillan and Amrit Ramkumar at the Wall Street Journal reported a critical development in their piece, "White House Opposes Anthropic's Plan to Expand Access to Mythos Model." The administration is stepping in directly to assert oversight over exactly how and to whom this powerful technology is distributed. It's signaling a new, far more involved era of government intervention in commercial AI deployment. The core conflict over that distribution is quite straightforward. Currently, Anthropic grants access to roughly 50 entities. They've formally proposed expanding the Mythos Access program to 120 entities. And it's this specific proposed expansion, more than doubling the current access pool, that the White House is actively attempting to block.
John Tomase summarized these federal objections in his LinkedIn analysis, analyzing the administration's cybersecurity concerns on Mythos. He maps out three main points. First, officials cite escalating national security risks if access to these vulnerability-finding capabilities is broadened. Second, there's a logistical fear that expanding the program will drain critical computational resources. And third, they worry this resource drain could actually diminish the capacity for the government's own AI applications. Ultimately, the administration views the massive computing power required for Mythos as a strategic national asset.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 4. The trillion-dollar valuation, and the economic impact of this containment. You have to ask, how does a highly restricted, heavily regulated product drive record-breaking financial interest from institutional investors? Well, Bloomberg reporters Natasha Mascarenhas, Edward Ludlow, Sharon Ghaffari, and Seth Feigerman recently broke some major news.
In their article, Anthropic weighs funding offers at over $900 billion valuation, they note that the company is fielding massive unsolicited funding offers. Even though the model isn't publicly available, the private sector is rushing to secure equity in the architecture that powers it.
Let's just pause on that figure. Over $900 billion. As the Bloomberg team points out, these unsolicited term sheets have already advanced to preliminary funding talks. If executed, this staggering valuation would more than double their current standing. It would potentially leapfrog OpenAI, officially making Anthropic the world's most valuable artificial intelligence startup. Contextualizing that capital for IT professionals really reveals the sheer scale of industry consolidation happening right now. Anthropic's current valuation sits at roughly $350 billion. Looking at the broader landscape, we see massive infrastructure commitments, Google at $40 billion and Amazon at $25 billion. Then there's OpenAI, which was last valued around $850 billion. And finally, you have this proposed new valuation for Anthropic crossing the $900 billion threshold. This capital isn't just theoretical. It's flowing directly toward the physical data centers and the compute infrastructure necessary to support models like Mythos.
The timeline for deploying this capital is incredibly aggressive. Based on the Bloomberg reporting, the market trajectory is moving at a breakneck pace. In April 2026, those unsolicited term sheets were received. By summer 2026, preliminary talks are taking place specifically to finance the massive infrastructure required to meet anticipated demand. And looking ahead, there's a potential initial public offering or IPO slated for as early as October 2026.
So, we are currently witnessing an unprecedented intersection of immense technical capability, federal intervention, and historic capital formation. Which brings us back to Jacob Leslie's provocative question. Is this a genuine watershed moment in AI risk, or the most sophisticated marketing play the industry has ever seen? Regardless of where you personally stand on that spectrum, the impact on enterprise infrastructure and corporate valuation is undeniably real, and it requires careful monitoring by all IT professionals.
Thank you for watching. This is where we teach you AI and help you get smarter than your competition. If you like these videos, use the QR code at the beginning to buy us a coffee or hire us to coach you or your employees in AI. Please make sure to subscribe to the AI for Career Success YouTube channel. We also ask that you like, comment, and share this video to help us reach a wider audience of professionals looking to navigate these critical industry shifts.